Welcome to Talking Greatness. I'm your host, J.O. Staxx, and I have a very special guest in the building here today, my long-lost friend, Fabric. It's been a minute. I just want to mention the first thing here is when I got into the entertainment scene, you were one of those dudes that have actually been there since day one. So it's really nice to have you here again on the show. We did interviews back in the day, so it's always a pleasure to have you, my man. So what's going on?
Not much. Thank you for having me. But yeah, we have been connected for a long time, if you think about it. So it's pretty cool to know that we're still involved and still doing what we're doing. So yeah, it's good to be here.
I believe, what was it? Was it the glow-in-the-dark graffiti party? Was that it? It's a Sutherland Hall show.
I think, was that Sarah Marvin's birthday?
I believe so. Shout out to Sarah. She's the one who linked us up back in the day. I always remember that. She's like...
That's funny.
So I was doing a show, and she's like, "Oh, my friend Aaron, he's a rapper. You should check him out." And I guess then the rest is history. We're here now. Probably that would have been 2007, 2008. So it's been a minute, bro.
It's been a long time.
So what you working on, man? What you been up to recently here?
Well, actually, I took a pretty long hiatus from writing, so I'm actually really excited to say that I've been writing songs again, which is amazing. I'm working on a project right now. I don't really have a release date for it, but it's just cool to know that the inspiration is flowing again, that the music is coming more naturally. For a long time, I was making beats and I wasn't really writing. And so, I mean, I've still been creative over the years, but I guess there was a big lull. And so now it feels natural again. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I have a few different features of just like local people on it. I'm not really reaching out to any like big, huge names or something. I just like working with my friends and people that I'm connected to. And I just feel like I'm connected with a group of people in the city here who's super talented. And it's just good to grow your roots with those people, you know? So
That's actually the thing I really like right now, because we do have a lot of talented people around us, and it just helps staying creative, staying motivated, because the people around us are always working, right? So it kind of keeps you in that mindset of like, hey, let's do this. We have a really talented team, which I love to see. So with your project there, you said you kind of took some time off. One question I always ask people is, what do you do to keep yourself motivated and like creative? Like, what is it that really pushes you to be creative?
I mean, it's kind of interesting. I guess for me, I've been sober for 14 months as of yesterday.
Congratulations.
Actually. Yeah.
Because that's a big step.
Yeah. And so for me, before, I used to just like smoke weed and want to write music, and that was my way of being inspired. And I guess after a long enough time of doing drugs or whatever, it's just it stops losing its touch, and I think more than anything, rather than motivating you, it's the exact opposite. And so I think just in terms of becoming sober, I think it took a while for the gears to get rolling again. But now it's just like I feel very clear-headed. I feel, I don't know. I feel like before I had this dependency of like I needed to smoke weed before I was writing, and now I can just write, and it's awesome. I mean, I like having a cup of coffee or something in the studio or just whatever. But another thing, too, is for a long time I was writing over my own beats, and something that I've been doing lately is finding other producers' beats, because I feel like every producer kind of has their own sound. So for me, it's like my beats have a certain style to them. Somebody else that makes beats, their beats are going to have a certain style to them. So I just wanted to start working on beats that just aren't mine, have a little bit of a different feel. So I think that's something for me, is just like being sober, finding beats that are actually inspiring to me, that are new, that are fresh, that are just, I don't know, different, So
I know a lot of people too, they kind of use, I used to use in the past that, you smoke weed, think, oh, I'm going to be more creative now. But it's not, it's, I think there's the illusion that it's going to make you more creative. But like before, if on the podcast, me and the boys might, smoke a quick one. And then I always thought, okay, if I do this, I'm going to be more creative. But then I ended up not being. I ended up slowing me up. So I think I'm excited to hear your new stuff, because you said that's kind of a new angle you've taken, right? So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I actually, like, not to be an advocate for smoking weed, but I think in the beginning stages, it can be a source of inspiration. But like I said, I think over time, everything kind of loses its shine or loses its effects. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's funny, because now that I'm sober, I could never imagine going back to a life of being a pothead or whatever. And so Yeah, I don't know. I just want to make music sober. I just feel like it's better. I feel more focused and everything, like I said. So yeah, it's cool.
So do you see a vast difference in your new music now that you're sober? Like, do you see it physically, or like is it somewhat of the same old fabric?
Oh, I mean, at the core of who we are, we're the same people. You know, it's I mean, I guess for me, the biggest change in my life is becoming sober, but a big thing for me was becoming Christian.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it's like my music is still this, like, I've always written about life and like problems and stuff like that. It's never ever been party music. It's never been any like about girls or anything like that. You know my music. But I mean, now that I'm a Christian and it's a big part of my life, like faith is something that I take seriously. For me, it's interesting because I still want to make music that I can play at the bar. I don't want to be some Christian rapper that's like preaching to people, because there's certain Christian rappers that can only play shows in churches, and I don't want to be some guy who is a Christian that makes rap music that can only play at a church. Like I want my music to be inspired by my faith, but I don't want it to be so over the top that people are gonna just be totally not into it at a show. So I think for me, it's just an interesting angle. It's like learning how to make music that's inspired by God in a way that isn't going to come across as cringy to people. You know, because I think that's like a legit struggle if you want to make music that's going to impact people in a positive way. You know.
Yeah, see, it's tougher too, because like when you hear the word Christian rapper, you kind of get boxed in with that. It's like, oh, he's just praising, or, you know, it's I think there's a lot more to it than just you get boxed in by that label, right? So I think that's once you get past that, it'll be easy, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't want that label. Like, I'm a Christian that raps, you know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it's just faith is something that's important to me, and I don't want to back away from that, and I don't want to shy away from that. But hip-hop is a big part of my life, and I love rapping, and so I never want to be boxed in like that. I would just like to be known as a rapper, you know? And then people that know who I am or know me personally know that faith is a part of my life, you know? But I mean, at the same time, too, in my song lyrics now, like, I do rap about God and stuff like that. So, I mean, people listening to my music are going to know that's where my heart is at. But sometimes I even think about, like, Brother Ali. And Brother Ali raps a lot about God, and he's one of the most legit rappers I've ever heard in my life. And he does it in a way that isn't cringy or over the top. And so maybe just that's along the lines of where I want to go with it, is to be able to, like, be open about my faith in my music, but also just be able to be, like, legit and not,
So when it comes to your faith, is that something you were kind of a part of you, like, lifelong? It was like a turning point where you just kind of like said, like, hey, I need to make a big change in my life, and then you found God through that. Was that like a aha moment, or was it just one of those things you kind of always believed in?
It's a transition. I mean, I grew up being a Christian until I was about 17, and then I just started smoking weed, got involved with girls, got involved with drinking, just, you know, life things. Like every young person, or 90% of young people, get caught up in that life. You know, it's normal. But I guess for me, it's I got to a point. How can I explain this? I was smoking weed for over a decade, and I was getting up to a pack a day, and I was experimenting with other drugs. I never got into other drugs heavily, but I would try them. And so for me, it was one of those things where it's just like, I didn't want that to be who I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, if people are into that, that's your life. That's your decision. I'm not going to be judgmental towards you, because for me, like, I lived that life, you know? And so I guess I got to a point of, like, I've tried fixing myself on multiple occasions, and I'd be clean for a few weeks here and there, and then I'd always fall back to it, and I'd be like, okay, what am I supposed to do? I guess I got to that rock bottom point of, like, okay, I got nothing else. And so within, like, basically it was just slightly over a year ago that I became a Christian, but it was maybe a year before that. I had met a girl named Sarah Kelly at the skate park, and she had joined this thing called Calling All Skaters. And so Calling All Skaters is a Christian organization that's just, like, about skateboarding and learning about God. And initially I just like, oh, that's cool, you know. but then I guess over time, the idea resonated with me, and I ended up coming into some money that actually made me able to afford it, because it was in San Francisco, and it cost some money to go down there and be a part of the school and all that stuff. And so I got to the point where I was like seriously considering this. And I guess before I left, I had this prayer, and I was like, God, if you're real, this is your chance to change my life. You know? So it was funny because the night before I left, it was like Mitch's birthday, Data's birthday. And I remember just like hanging out and like having a good time. And then I had to leave early because I was getting up on the plane, and I was at home, and I was like talking to my mom, and I was freaking out, you know, because it's like,
that's a big move, you know, that's a big thing to take on.
Well, you're leaving all your friends behind. You're going to be a part of some Christian group, and it's like you're not a Christian at the time, and it's like, what if this is not the right move? Like, what did I just sign myself up for? Like, this is crazy, kind of. You know, but I mean, it was the right move for me. We're all on our own path, right? So for me, that worked for me, and so. When I got there, I guess I just like jumped right into the whole Jesus culture and started learning and started praying and just started taking things seriously. And from day one, like from the day I got there, I haven't done drugs since then. I have no desire to go back to that life. A month after I got there, I quit smoking cigarettes, which is crazy because to me, I was smoking like a pack a day. I actually thought I was going to be a smoker forever. You know,
when you get to a pack a day, that's serious smoking. You know.
Yeah. So I was just like, you know, these were deep rooted addictions of over a decade for both of them, and it's just like it's crazy to me because some people. Before I used to be a little bit leery about talking this stuff, but I want to be bold about it. You know, because for me. I feel like if people are lost, the answer could be God, you know? So, and like I said, it works for me. It may not work for you, but for me, it's just like, I just notice a radical transformation in my life since coming into my faith. And so for me, that's why it's real, because I was freed from these long time, deep rooted addictions in my life. Just like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, that's why it's real, you know, because like I often talk about it, like if I'm sitting at a table with someone, like this table is real, you can grab onto it, but God is not one of those things that you can reach out and grab.
Right.
So that's why it's a weird idea to some people, because there's no actual proof that God is real, you know? But I mean, so for me, that's kind of been, that's my path that has led me to where I am right now. Yeah.
Nice. So just for the viewers out there, when you went down there, the program you're part of was to reach out to people with God through skateboarding, correct?
Basically, yeah.
Nice. So you start off in San Francisco, and then you basically went on like a lot of travels. Let's hear about that. Like I love always hearing about this.
So it was a bit of an adventure. So like so I went to San Francisco for 3 months, and that's like basically the lecture phase. And so that was just like a lot of teachings and stuff about the Bible, about Jesus, about God, about just, I don't know, getting to know that whole side of things. And then, so we did outreach, and so we'd go to different skate parks, and we would just, we weren't like there evangelizing, really. It was more like skateboard culture can be very comparison-based. It can be, I don't know, a lot of people freaking out because they're not landing their tricks.
Yeah.
And it can just be kind of an aggressive kind of atmosphere. And so we're more just going there to be guys that are super encouraging to one another, to be like having fun and having a good time. And I'm not saying that we never evangelized at all, but I mean, for me too, like I was a very new Christian, so I wasn't out there like being in people's faces at all, you know? And even to me now, it's just like, I'm not really into the idea of forcing things down, like especially like religious beliefs down people's throats.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it openly about what I believe, but I'll never be the one that's like, you should believe in this. You know what I mean? Because we all have the right to believe what we want to believe. But anyways, so that was the first 3 months. It was basically skateboarding, learning about it. And then we had an outreach phase. And so for mine, there was about 30 people in the school. And so we all got divvied into teams of about 10 people. And so my team ended up going to Panama and Colombia. And Panama was cool. Dave was our connection there, and he was a guy from New Jersey who spoke just like perfect Spanish. And so he was our connection there, and he was connected into the skate scene.
Nice.
And it was fun. Like I said, it was good to go there. But when I went to Colombia, that's when I really felt like I connected with people. Because I mean, YWAM or Calling All Skaters it's a lot of younger people. Like I'm 30, I'm turning 31 right away, and so it was a lot of people around the age of 20. But for me, I went there to change my life. You know, I didn't care what the age range of people was. I was just like, all right, God, if you're real, like I said, this is your chance. And so when I went to Columbia, a lot of the people that we ended up connecting with at the church in Columbia were about like 25, 26. So still not like my age, but closer. And so that was awesome. I made some really good friends there. I actually got to perform at a festival in Colombia.
That's sick.
Yeah, so I was like, that was kind of one of my bucket list things, was to perform in another country. So that was cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, all in all, I basically got to skateboard around the world and like learn about Jesus for the year. You know, it's a pretty wild, you know. I was just thinking sometimes when I was gone about how blessed I was to be able to do that, you know, because I think traveling and seeing the world and doing something you love at the same time is really rare, you know. So I just considered that a big blessing. And then I guess I came home for a few weeks after the school was done, and I kind of wanted, like, at that point I was clean for about 6 months, and there was a part of me that just still wanted to be in a bit of a controlled environment so that I didn't go back to my old life. And so
because it takes the smallest thing to get you right back into it, you know, like one day, 6 months out the drain, you know. So
yeah, you know. And so for me, I was just like, all right, I want to go, because YWAM, that's what Calling All Skaters was under. YWAM is Youth for a Mission, for anyone who's curious. But anyways, they have other schools, they have secondary schools and different things that you can still be involved with after you take the initial training. And so I went back to LA because a few of the boys from Calling All Skaters ended up doing that school as well. And so I'm still kind of confused about why I went there. But I mean, those friendships that I had made in San Francisco just deepened. So I think really going out there was a real chance to still stay connected with the boys. But at the same time, it's like I'm from Canada. One of my friends is in Pennsylvania. One of my friends is in New York, and one of my friends is in Tennessee. But it's hard, right? It's like one of those things where you really have to be intentional about your friendships and making time for each other and making time to talk to each other. And it's just like, if I have money in the future, I want to be able to go down there and travel. But it's hard, you know. But I mean, I wouldn't trade anything for those friendships and for the year that I had. So,
and plus, as you said, there's a lot of personal growth that came out of it. That's the thing I love about your story. Again, is as you say, you don't like to push your the God stuff onto people, but you're just sitting there saying, "Hey, man, like it changed my life. Just look at me. Look at what it has done for me, and it could also do that for you." You know, so
to me, it's funny because there's a scripture that says, like, when you give your life to Christ, you become a new creation. And the funny,
actually, I never knew that, but that's actually, I kind of like the sound of that.
Well, to me, it's funny because so I was freed from addictions, but when I came home, from the day that I left San Francisco to the day that I got back in Saskatoon, I had gained 25 pounds. And I had a lot of people comment about how much healthier I looked, how much better I looked, and like people that I'm not even really friends with.
Also, like a healthy 25 pounds.
Yeah, well, I was real skinny before, you know, and like that, like I'm how I'm supposed to be, you know? And so like it was interesting because for me, like all these radical transformations had taken place in my life with being freed from addictions, but then I came home and I actually looked like a different person. Like people saw me and were like, "You look so much better," you know? And it's fun. It's like, okay, like did I look like garbage before or something? But at the same time, it like to me that scripture came to life because it's like I am a new creation. I'm in the process of being transformed, you know, from the old me into who I was supposed to be, you know? And so not even just in the sense that I feel different in my mind, but physically I'm different. Like I gained 25 pounds, you know? So I think for me that was something that was kind of cool, you know? It's not just a transformation in the way that I think, but a transformation in like my physical self as well too. So I thought that was interesting.
One thing I'm pumped to see is going to be the transition of your music, because obviously now, like, you are definitely a different artist than you were prior to this. And this is your first project coming out soon that is actually, because you haven't released anything since that period, have you?
Oh, dude. I mean,
like other than maybe
2012, I released a little EP. A lot of artists are bad for this about collecting work and never releasing it.
Yeah.
That's like the plague of an artist. I know so many people that make these songs and make these projects, and I bet you Data would be mad at me because there's Like there's a few songs that we've done together that are never going to see the light of day, and there's songs that I've worked on with other people that I probably never, that are just going to sit on my computer. And I'm sorry to anybody watching, but I mean, you also need to release stuff that you're behind, you know? It's like I can't go back and release songs from 4 years ago that I have that I'm just done with, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where like this new music inspires me. I like my tone, I like my lyrics, I like my flow. Like it's something that I can believe in, you know? And so for me, I don't know. It's just awesome to be in a place where there was a little void in my heart, because for a long time I wasn't writing music. And for me it was cool to be making beats, but in my heart, man, I want to write songs. I want to be on stage, I want to rap. You know what I mean? And so for me to get back to that place where I'm actually writing songs again is just refreshing. It's so refreshing. And I think a big transformation in the way that I want to think about this is I think maybe part of the reason why I wasn't making music for a long time is I got really jaded. I got really upset about the fact of all the time that I've spent with music, with skateboarding. Like I've put my heart and soul into those two things, you know? And I've never really gotten what I've wanted out of either of them. But for me, I've realized there was some author talking about writing books and how she said that writing, like being a writer, writing doesn't owe her anything. She's been lucky enough to be successful. But she said that like if you're an artist, if you're a painter, if you're whatever you are, like your craft doesn't owe you anything, you know? Except for maybe peace of mind or like some clarity or just the enjoyment that you get from doing it, you know? And I guess I took that to heart, and it's like I always put all this pressure on music and on skateboarding to be like at a certain level or like I should be at this place with music or whatever. And I think for me now, it's just like I want to make music that I like and not put the pressure on it that I used to. And
it's kind of that let it flow, you know?
But that's like also... It sounds nice. It's a nice idea to talk about, but it's like putting that into practice and actually, okay, I'm going to put this music out there, and win or lose, whether this is successful or not, I'm still going to keep on making music, you know? So I really hope that like I'm not just saying these words and that actually if I release this project and it totally flops and nobody likes it, that I'll just still keep on making music. Yeah. Because I think as artists, we want people to like what we're doing. You know, I think any artist would be lying if they said that they didn't care if nobody liked what they did.
Right.
You know, so I mean, but I do want to get to that place where I'm not putting this pressure on it, where it's like music, you owe me something. You know, it's like no, music doesn't owe me anything. You know,
so we get to that level, and then that's when you start forcing music, and then it becomes more of a job than the actual art, right? Then you just like stop losing your passion for it. So I like that your viewpoint on that, because it's just. Do it for the love of it, do it for the passion, and then just let it ride out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because like a couple years ago, I had ended up saving a bunch of money from one of my jobs, and I ended up taking a year off to try and like pursue like making beats and making money from that. And then putting all that pressure on making music ended up making it, you're right, feel like a job, not feel like my passion.
Actually, I remember that, because I remember you said, I'm taking the year off, and I remember you saying, I'm going to give it a year to see where it goes, and like basically I have to make it in this next year. I specifically remember that conversation with you.
Yeah. So and I mean, I think like I have zero regrets about that year. Like I believe that was maybe something that I needed to go through. You know, I think as an artist, you need to know what it's like to fail or to not have things go
100%.
Go your way, because I mean, when you get something, you should really be satisfied about, like you should have to work hard for what you get. You know what I mean? But yeah, at the same time, like I was just talking for like 5 minutes there. I really want to get to the point where I'm not putting all that pressure on music, where I can just do it because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. You know?
So this new project, how would you describe the sound of it? And like, is there anything out there that would be kind of the equivalent, or what's the general feel of the album? Like how would you describe it to people?
Well, I mean, it's funny because like I'm working, like I wanna use somebody else's beats, but his beats, like my beats, I feel like are very like emotional and kind of somber a little bit. And it's funny because this guy kind of has the same vibe of beats as me, so it's like I'm still rapping with the same. I think the beats still kind of have the same feeling as my own. I just really like what he's doing. You know, I think he's an amazing producer. But I mean, So I'm working with Data on a song. That song's more of a song about like relationship. Because I feel like Data's good at writing about that. There's a song that I'm working on with NJ, which is like over an acoustic guitar beat. There's a song that I'm working on with a Chi that's kind of like a song about finding your path. I don't know. Like, I feel like the songs are actually focused to the point that like each song has a purpose, whereas sometimes in the past, I feel like I've just written for the sake of writing. Like,
oh, I'm supposed to make a song, so let's just do it kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, like, I mean, it's hard for me to explain what this project sounds like, because it's still just very much in the beginning stages of like getting the writing done, and like I still don't even have all the beats selected that I want to use for this. But I mean, like I said before, just the ability, like I feel like Saskatoon is a small city, but there's so much talent in the city, and I find that
there is.
I find that really amazing, you know? And so like I feel like with working with guys like Data and NJ and a Chi, and there's a friend of mine, her name's Amy, who's going to sing on it. Like, they're just... Sometimes I think it's luck of the draw who gets famous, you know? It's like all these people are talented enough that any of them could blow up given the right opportunities. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I think is so cool, is this, we're some city that a lot of people have never heard of. But I honestly think that pool of talent probably exists in any city in the world that you go to. It's like, I think people are extremely talented, and sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, who gets lucky and who gets noticed. And so for me, I'm just really thankful to be working with people that are within like driving distance, you know, that we can connect and we can work face to face and we can sit down and we can record the song together. We can go through the music together, you know? So that's what I'm excited about. I mean, the cool thing about the internet is if I wanted to reach out to somebody in Toronto or LA, we could still work together. But I like the idea of working with everybody in the city here, you know? So I'm sorry if that's kind of like a runaround answer to the question, because I still don't know what the project is supposed to look like or sound like or feel like, but I'm just excited about it.
So it's going to be like an authentic Saskatoon hip-hop album.
I hope so.
I love it. I love it. So is it going to be the inspiration, I guess, more faith-based then? Or is it just going to be, again, just...
Well, I mean, like I know Chi is like a churchgoer, but that's like his own thing to talk about. And I don't know where the other people are at. Amy, like, that's how I know Amy, is through church. But I mean, like, my verses, I think most of them probably like mention God once in each verse, you know? But at the same time, it's just like, it's something that I don't want to come across as preachy or like over the top, you know? So I feel like I'm doing it in a way that is not cringy. At least I hope. I mean, I'm hoping I release this and people maybe from that I know through faith like it, but people that are just like regular people that are not into faith still enjoy it, you know? So I guess it'll be a test, like when I release it, how it goes. I mean, I haven't released music in a long time, and I know one of the things about releasing music is you kind of have to be regular with it. You got to be current. You got to keep your like brand going. And basically I feel like I'm just like a brand new guy because I haven't been doing music in such a long time. I haven't been releasing anything. So, I mean, this is all kind of new to me. You know, I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but I'm excited to be doing it.
How was that scripture you said? You become a new creation. So basically that's you in a sense.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I believe we're all in a form, like in a sense of transformation. It's just like whether we're going to submit to it or not, you know, like, because I think we grow and we go through situations all the time that are going to change us, you know? So, I mean, just for me, I try to just develop my relationship with God. I try to pray. I try to read my Bible. I try to just not only read my Bible, but put into practice like the things that I read about, you know, because there's a lot of good lessons to be learned from that book. But yeah, like I guess my dream with music is, like I said, like I want to be a Christian that raps. I don't want to be classified as a Christian rapper, but I want to be able to still go play the shows in the bars and be able to influence people in a positive way and not just be confined to churches or Christian events. You know what I mean? So I mean that's like my vision is to be able to do that in a way that's not overbearing. So
I'm going to kind of switch gears here.
Let's do it. Yep.
So LA. As we all know, I'm moving down there in the next couple weeks, and you did a stint down there. Let's talk about that more. If there's any tips and advice you can give me while I head down there. Because I remember you saying it wasn't as it didn't go as well as you thought it would, right?
Well, I mean, also you're gonna have a completely different experience, like because LA is like 88 counties or something tied into one, and like you need a car.
Okay, we'll bring that right back there. So, LA, tell me about your experience. Any tips, advice?
Okay, so like I said, there's 88 counties in LA. You need a car to get around, and so basically, like I was taking a school there, so I was living on the YWAM LA base, and so sometimes we would go into the city, but we were pretty much confined to the base.
So whereabouts was that? Like that's
it's called Lakeview Terrace, which is not close to downtown LA at all. I do have experience like being in actual LA, but I know that it's just weird because I wasn't like downtown LA, or I wasn't like staying in Santa Monica or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like LA was cool. I mean, it's beautiful there. It's very warm. There's attractive people there. I know that a lot of people, there's a lot of creative minds that go there. You know, people say that it's like the city of dreams, but I've also heard it referred to as the city of broken dreams too.
Yes.
Because so many people go there to pursue their passions and their dreams and stuff, and then they end up having to, like, it's an expensive city to live, and I'm not saying, you know? So it's I'm not saying that to discourage you or anybody else from going there, but it's just like one of those things too, where I've just heard of people find their success there, but they also get their hearts broken there too. So I don't know, like it's weird. Like I don't really have any advice for you because I feel like I was kind of confined to that one little space, and we never really left there, you know? So, I mean, for me, sorry that I don't have more insight for you.
But as you said, like it's, as you said too, with like when it comes to artists, it's kind of the luck of the draw. It's kind of the same concept with that. People go like, I'm obviously going down to pursue my dream.
Yeah,
I can either make it or I won't make it. It's just the luck of the draw. It just, hopefully I meet some good people and it's things blow up. But again, it's goes either way in that city.
You know, I have nothing but respect for you for doing that, because I think something that we need to do as people, you going to LA is a big risk. You know what I mean? And so we're not,
especially too, like I left a very cushy corporate job. Like I was paid quite well. Like people look at me like, why? Like you crazy, man? You crazy? I'm like, no, yeah, it's for the greater good, you know.
Well, that's, man. I've been challenged lately. Like I don't think we're called to live comfy, comfortable lives, you know. And when we do, our lives get really boring and mundane and whatever, you know. Like I think about like the last week that I was in San Francisco. It was funny because I'm good at skateboarding, but someone said something to me that really rubbed me the wrong way when we were sitting around, and we were talking about faith and how you need to be bold and courageous, and you need to like approach people, and you need to like talk to people about it. And then he was talking about skateboarding and how we can't just like skate like boxes and on flat ground and just do flip tricks all the time. Like sometimes we have to skate handrails or like skate stairs and like scare ourselves. And I felt like that was a direct stab at me because I love skating flat ground and I love skating boxes. And so I felt like that was a way for him, without saying it directly to me, to be like, you're a baby and you need to start skating stuff that's scary, you know? And so I was like, you know, screw you, bro. And when we were in San Francisco, it was funny because I was like skating this ledge, and then one of my friends was just like, you should come skate this set of stairs. And I was like, yeah, I probably should. And so there was one that was like probably as high as this table, and I did a trick off. It took a little while, and then there was one that had an extra step on it, so it was probably, I don't know, like maybe nipple height or something like that for your average dude. I don't know. And it is pretty big, and so I started skating it, and it was funny because I wanted to land a frontside flip in a few of the different countries on like a nice obstacle, and I couldn't, and so my trick was the frontside flip on the 3 block. And when I was there, I was praying to God, and I was like, you know what? I want to be able to land this trick, and I don't want to leave broken. Like help me do this. You know, this is so far out of my comfort zone. And I battled it probably 50 tries later, and I did it perfect. I've never, and it was the most natural high. It was the most high I've ever felt in my life. Like I was on a cloud for like hours after that, you know? And I feel like that was because I took a big risk, and I put myself out there, and I had to battle it, and I hit the ground hard a lot, and I couldn't walk for like 3 days after that.
Oh shit.
but I got it, you know, and it's one of those things where like I just feel like we're called to do things that scare us sometimes, where we're not comfortable in what we're doing and we need to go out there. And like, I think you going to LA, like regardless of what the outcome is it's awesome that you're doing it. You know, you got to put yourself in those situations that you're not totally comfortable with it. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You left your job where you're comfortable and you're making money and you're going to go and do that. And like I said, regardless of what the outcome is, man, that's amazing, because I think that's what we're called to do. We're called to not be creatures of comfort. We're called to 100%. We're called to do these things that scare us, you know? And so awesome, you know, good on you.
Actually, that's the one thing I was going to ask you too, is because we're the same age here. Yep. Was that something that kind of played into your decision to kind of, when you went down to San Francisco and all that? Because that's a main reason. Well, I wouldn't say main reason. I've always dreamt about moving down to LA. But this year turned 30, and that's a big milestone. It kind of hits you. I'm assuming, yeah. Did you have the same thing? It was like, oh man, like I'm 30 now. Like I am an adult. When it really hits you, and I was like, okay, where am I in life? I'm like, okay, I want more. Now I got to make a massive change now. And it's like, it just kind of clicks in, you know? It's like age really kind of, even though it's just a number, it kind of gives you that kick sometimes, you know?
I don't think age... I think I was just ready. I think it was just the time, you know. I was done with the life that I was living, right. You know, and so it just so happened to be right around when I turned 30, you know. So I get what you're saying, but I don't. That point could have came at 26. That point could have came at 37. You know, that point could have came. Who knows when that point would have came? But it came when it did, and that's when it happened, and that's where I'm at. You know, so
another question I have for you is, you skateboard and you rap.
Yeah.
Are you more of a rapper who skates or a skater who raps?
Well, I think like I want to make music because I feel like music has the power to change the world. And I'm not saying that my music is going to change the world. And I know that there's skateboarders that have a lot of influence over kids, you know, so it's like a skateboarder could change the world easily too.
That's true, yeah.
Anyone can change the world. I mean, for me, honestly, me and Data were talking about this, about how literally if you had 10,000 fans who bought a hoodie and an album off you and went to your show once a year, you could make a living off that. And like 10,000 people in the grand scheme of things, there's like 9 billion people in the world.
That's just a small fraction, you know?
So like let's say me or Data or whoever got our 10,000 fans, you know, and it's like you could actually make a pretty good living off that, you know? And that's not even dreaming that big, man. You know, it's like some people have millions of fans, you know? So
I always talk to people about this too, is there's this misconception when it comes to, I think, music, because when people get into it, a lot of time, like there's like you, I can see you're more passion on the art itself, but there's people who get into it just to be famous, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they put their video out on YouTube and it only gets 1,000. They're expecting millions. But I've always had the philosophy, if I can make $50,000 a year, even doing this podcast stuff, that's the dream right there. You know, if you can just make enough to get you, like, pay for your stuff, doing what you love, you're just living the dream. Like, simple as that.
Absolutely, man. So, no, I 100% agree with that. I just think that, like, I've never thought about it the way Data kind of presented it to me, you know? And because, like, really, I don't know. I just think that's a totally feasible thing, you know? I think sometimes we need to... I guess the way I want to look at music is I know how many people want to do music, and I know how many people think it's unrealistic to want to do it and pursue it. But I also want to believe that if God put me here to make music for people, to change people's lives, then he's going to make a way for me.
Right.
But this comes back to the whole risk-taking thing with, like, you going to LA. If I'm going to do this, there's going to have to be situations that I go through that are uncomfortable for me, and I'm going to have to fall down a couple times, and I'm really... Because I do believe it's a battle of perseverance, and it's like how much are you going to be willing to fight for your dream? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because there's a picture of there's these two guys like underground mining, and this one guy.
Actually, I know which one you're talking about. It's actually one of my favorite photos. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's one guy mining, and he's literally inches away from like cracking into the diamond mine or whatever, and he literally doesn't know because it's that close, but he's been grinding for so long that he ends up picking up his shovel and walking away. And I think sometimes we never really know how close we are. And so it's just one of those things where I've put a lot of time into music over the years, and I did give up for a while, but I don't want that to be who I am. I don't want to be that guy who gives up, and I want to believe that if God put me here for music, that he's going to make a way for me to do that. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy things. Like we all have those days where, I've had days where like, wow, like what am I doing? Am I wasting my time with this? But then, you take a couple hours, you chill out, and you just realize, like, think about all the hours we put into this stuff. Quitting would be just disrespect to all the work we've already put in. You said, you never know. Like, one song can change the world. You can, one song, one release can change your life. But if you quit, you'll never get to that. So
yeah. No, absolutely. But I mean, we're only human too, and that's the thing is like you can only deal with so much failure or I don't know what the word would be. You can only put up with not getting what you want for so long, which is why I've had like really love-hate relationship with music and skateboarding. I mean, I think a lot of it is also like surrounding yourself with people who are going to pull you through that.
That's true.
One thing I've learned that I'm learning right now, I just read a book, and one of the chapters in it was basically dedicated to team, like having a team behind you.
Right.
And he looked at different people who have been really successful in this life, and not just one time, but they were successful in multiple ventures, and some people are just lucky enough to be successful once. Some people are never successful at all, but some of these guys have been successful numerous times and have made massive amount, like lots of money and influenced lots of people's lives. And the thing is that people who are successful have a team behind them. And it's interesting because I've been watching you guys like working with Mitch.
Yeah.
And there was like you and Sean and Achi and I'm not sure who, like I saw Adam Link, I think there too. And like I know John's really behind it. Like one thing I admire about Mitch is Mitch has people in his corner,
right.
And for me, I've always been a bit of a lone wolf. But I've always wanted to do things on my own strength. But one thing I do I've read that book and I read that chapter, and it was like greatness is achieved by working with people, by people who are going to back your ideas, and they're willing to fail with you, but they're also willing to learn from those failures and grow and move forward. And then from those failures, you make something that's successful, right? And so I guess for me right now, it's like I wanna be able to find the people that are going to be willing to come behind my music and help me with the project, And so I just it's interesting because I never thought really hard about how important actually having people in your corner is.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's like that was like the one chapter in the book that really hit me hard, where I was like, you can't just do everything on your own. Like you're going to have some success on your own, but the chance of you doing more is so much multiplied so much more when you're working with other people,
Yeah, and the key thing to that is having those people on your team who are strong where you're weak. I always tell people this story too. Like when I was in high school, I dropped a mixtape. It was absolutely terrible, I'll admit it, but because I've always had this passion for the entertainment industry.
Yeah, you have.
And that was kind of my first shot at it. And I realized, I'm like, hey, honestly, the rapping thing is just not for me. Yeah. I'm not a rapper. And then so I kind of, through all this stuff, I've kind of molded and found where my specialty is in that arena. So I'm still involved in the scene, but I know I'm not the guy making the music.
Yeah.
I'll help push the music, but I'm just not the music guy. So it's all about having people who are strong where you're weak. And I think that's why I'm very happy and proud to be working with the people I am right now, because they specialize in areas where I'm not good at, and vice versa. So it's that's what they say, teamwork make the dream work.
No, absolutely, man. And I mean, it's funny because just to go to faith for a second, there's like scripture that talks about the body of Christ and how we all have different functions, and this all comes back to working in a team. You have strengths and weaknesses, and I have strengths and weaknesses. And the more people that you get involved, there's going to be a lot of different personalities and a lot of strengths and weaknesses that have to function together in order to work. And the thing is if you can figure out how to work with all those personalities and all those different gifts and stuff, you're going to accomplish so much more. It's just the fact of whether you can overcome some of maybe the personality differences, right, or whatever, because sometimes there's just personality conflict where people just can't jive with each other. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I just think it's a cool idea that I don't know, I'm 30 and I feel like I'm just finally learning. It's kind of dawning on me now. So
That's the crazy thing about life. You're every day, even though you can be old, but you can still learn new things every day. And that's why I love life.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
But other than that, is there anything else you want to plug? I'm actually very happy with this conversation. This is actually a great podcast. I love this one. So
right on.
Is there anything else you want to plug or talk about before we wrap up this episode?
I guess I just want to say thank you to the people who are willing to contribute to my project, who haven't asked for any money or anything. Like, we're just like doing this out of the sake of we're friends, we love music. So thank you, Data. You know, I'm going to give a big shout out to Data. We've known each other for a long time now, and when I left for the year to the States, like, he let me store all my stuff in, like, he's got like one of those sea can things. He let me store some stuff there. He let me keep some stuff at his house. He kept my studio in his house in the warm, so it didn't have to sit out in the cold. And I don't know, man. Data's just been really solid. Like, I love Data's music, but I love Data's heart more than anything. Like, Data,
100%.
Yeah, like, he's been awesome. Oh man, I feel like such a jerk. Sequel's gonna be on my project. I don't know.
Oh yes, shout out to Sequel.
I'm sorry. I love you, man. You have also been another person who has been there for me with music. And you whenever you got shows, you're always reaching out to me. I know I haven't been inspired to play shows, so there's been a lot of shows that I haven't been a part of, or I don't really push tickets or anything like that. So sorry, man, but I love you and I respect what you're doing so much. And thank you to NJ and Achi, and thank you to Amy for being willing to sing on the songs. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to be working with the local talent, and I'm excited to be making music again, and I'm excited to be here talking about things that are important to me. So yeah, just thank you for giving me a platform to talk.
So is there any release dates or somewhat time frame you'd like to release it, or?
I mean, like, I think like maybe by February. I don't want to put any expectations on it though. Like, I don't want to be that guy who sits on another project. But also, there's a lot of facets to it. You got to mix it. You got to record it. You got to get the artwork done. You got to, I don't want to rush this out. Like, I want it to be done right. But I mean, I'm hoping like early next year would be great, and then keep on.
We'll say Fabric, new album coming out Q1 2018,
yeah.
quarter one. So, but I actually look forward to that. So that is this episode of Talking Greatness. This is Fabric. Again, it's a pleasure to have you. You're one of my long friends when it comes to this industry, and I appreciate you very much there. So
I appreciate you too, bro.
So follow Fabric. We'll put all the links in the description here. That is this episode of Talking Greatness. Cheers.
Peace.